Stipe is the champion. We knew that he was the underdog, and he's even falling as the underdog, which means people are putting their money on Francis Ngannou. They believe that he is going to knock out Stipe and become the new UFC heavyweight champion, and I'm just not too sure that that's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why before that I had DC winning the fights, and DC, and a lot of it is because I'm a homer, but they did it. But the next reason is I thought DC was going to be able to out wrestle and make him work so much to the point where heavyweights, doesn't matter which heavyweight you are, they're not very good off their back, you know, and so, unless you're Verdum, you know, I mean, Verdum he's very good off of his back and he's very dangerous on top as well. But I'm simply saying not a lot of heavyweights,
very few
on their back. And so if I thought DC would continue to wrestle him and put him down on his back, and then Stipe would just start to slow. And then you saw a little bit of that in the first fight, or in the second fight, I mean. But DC had some speed advantage on him as well. But the thing is with Stipe, I don't give him the credit because a lot of times he was fighting, you know, DC. The other thing as well is that he's extremely smart. He's got big power. He's got power backing up. He just doesn't do anything spectacular. Okay, he's a good wrestler. He's a very good wrestler. He took down Daniel a couple times, you know, and was able to put the weight on him, put some pressure on him. He's good all the way around. I just thought that not just DC, but other guys that had fought him before in the past too, that were basically like good in one area was going to be able to beat him in that one area. Because like I said, when you're fighting someone like Stipe, who is not spectacular in any area, but he's good all the way around.
That's it.
He can fight anywhere he needs to. He is a true mixed martial artist. He's got decent kicks, got big power in his boxing. He knows how to rip the body, as we saw with DC. Like he's good all the way around. He can get the takedown. His wrestling's pretty damn good. And so as much as people want to say I didn't give him credit, I'm giving him all the credit in the world now, okay? Because he's not fighting DC. That's the other reason. I'm sorry, guys. You guys know if you're so long enough, I'm a freaking homer, man. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, but I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. I felt this way when he was fighting DC. But when he fights Ngannou, it really just comes down to, I think, like you said, the round and a half, which my bookie has up. You know, he's who is it? Stipe is favored over a round and a half. So if that's the case, he's got to go over a round and a half. I think you're going to better Francis for two rounds. I think after the 2 rounds of the wrestling, I think just so much wrestling. And one thing that Francis falls into, which some of the lighter guys will fall into, is when they're fast and explosive, like Francis is. They tend to wilt. Like big guys, though, like they will because they're fast and explosive. But even the little guys do it. He has that. He's a big guy. And big and fast and explosive doesn't usually go together, and he's got that. He's a true athlete, but it's just a matter of he needs to still kind of keep his elbows in tight. He needs to make sure he's not reaching and lunging. And people are like, "Oh, he's got so much power," but look at the shots that he landed. He landed them because he had more. He was faster. Faster than Overeem, where he decapitated him. What's his name? Rosenstruck. Same thing with him. It wasn't technically sound. He was lunging in, throwing punches kind of from a little bit weird angles, and was able to connect. And he basically got them backing up and was able to land clean, hard shots. And his power didn't matter if it was clean or hard, still was enough to drop them and take their head off. With Stipe, all he's got to do is stay inside those winging punches and dirty, like Reign Tour style him, just dirty box him, grind him out, get the takedowns, let him back up, not let him up, but make him work to get up and then take him back down. If he does that for the first round and a half, I don't see how he loses.
That's exactly, but he's got to get through that first round and a half. That's the scary part. If you're a Stipe fan, if you're someone that wants him to win, you're looking at that first round and a half, 2 rounds, and you're going, please, God, don't let him get hit by that big shot, because I don't care how good a fighter you are. If you get hit by the power of someone like a Francis Ngannou, you're going to get hurt and you're going to go out. And so he needs to be sure as he's throwing, keep his head off the center line. Don't leave his head in that area where, you know, on a counter or even a simultaneous shot that Francis is able to land a shot. Because if he goes shot for shot, he's going to lose. You can't go shot for shot with him. You got to be smart. And it's exactly what you're saying. He's the complete mixed martial artist. If you're taking a look at the two, now I did a fight with Francis where he got a submission win. It was against Anthony Hamilton. He got a Kimura, but that's just not his area of expertise. He's not that dangerous, and he's not dangerous enough for Stipe down on the ground as far as submission. So if you're going to look at the guy that has the more complete game, it's Stipe. If you're going to look at the guy who has got that one element, that, explosive dynamite power, it's obviously Francis, but as far as fight IQ, as far as complete game, Stipe is the guy that you're looking at. He's super smart, is able to change, and all those elements when you're talking about a title fight and a big, pressure cooker situation. Those are sometimes the things that make the difference. Obviously either guy can win this, but I'm kind of leaning towards, the champ. I think that, he's smart enough to know I got to stay away from the power in the beginning, and he's smart enough to utilize the full, realm of tools that MMA allows him to do to get a win against a guy as athletic and explosive as Francis.
Well, the other thing, though, is that they're fighting at the Apex Center. The cage is smaller. So that makes it a little bit easier for Stipe to close the distance, keep him pressed, keep him, against the fence. He doesn't have to worry about Francis. Like he can just pressure him the whole time and keep him inside those winging punches. Here's the other thing. People need to understand that, or people need to go back and look at Stipe when they fought the first time and look at Stipe's body now.
Yeah.
Will Stipe be a lighter version? Will the strength be a factor? Because Stipe has leaned out a lot. You can see it in his face. You see it in his physique for his second and third fight for DC. He looked phenomenal in the third fight with DC. He just physically looked phenomenal. Will be coming in too light? Will that be an issue?
That it could be. It was my one concern, because he was getting lighter and lighter, and he's at a good weight. But I look and say, man, weighing in somewhere in that 238 to 245 pound, he does that. I know he's in shape, and I know that he's got enough weight that, Francis is going to push things around a little bit. He's just a huge dude. This is a guy that's cutting down to 265. Francis, when you stand next to him, you go, God damn, that's a big man. And Stipe's big, but he's not that big. He's a little bit taller, a little bit leaner, as far as, like a Cain Velasquez, but he's in that 238, 245. That's what I want to see.
Is the word lean and Cain Velasquez in the same sentence?
Well, I want to say Stipe's got about 5 inches on Cain. So
I'm like, leaning. Cain's my boy, and I am a homer when it comes to him, but no, that is not the word. Oh man, no, but we're looking at some pictures here off of his Instagram, and he looks really lean. Even like his jawline, everything looks a lot leaner. So whatever he's doing, I know he's probably in phenomenal shape. That's the other thing he's gonna have to be in. He's gonna have to be in some of the best shape he's ever been in, because he's got to make sure he can push that pace on the wrestling and the takedown and the clinch and get in there and fight off the strength of Francis Ngannou. So if he does that, I think he's got a great chance. I think he goes longer than 1.5, which I think he wins then. So you guys heard it here first. Josh Thompson taking Stipe's side.
Look at that. I think it's one of the things, we talk about it sometimes, is Stipe has been working his wrestling because of DC. He's been working that over time, where Francis, he's been fighting guys that he doesn't really have to worry, fighting against Jairzinho and all these other guys that are stand-up guys. He's just working on his stand-up. Now he's working on his wrestling game, but is it enough to get it to where it needs to be to stop what Stipe does? It's a great question, and it's going to be a great fight. I can't wait to see it.
Well, I think you can train somebody to stop the first takedown, maybe even the second. So Stipe is going to have to chain them together. But not even so much that, is have they trained him enough to not only wrestle and stop and defend takedowns to the point where he doesn't leave himself in a bad position when he gets taken down, though. So there's times where guys will fight the takedown so much, and sure, they get away sometimes, and sometimes they fight it so much they end up in side control or mount, because they fought it so hard that they end up in a shitty position and giving up a good position to go to a shitty position, trying to defend it. So if that person ends up on top, Stipe ends up on top in a shitty position, does he know how to get up from side control? Does he know how to escape mount? Does he know how to do it without giving his back? These are all things and questions that need to be answered, because we don't see him on the ground very often because people can't take him down, or they keep matching him up against people who don't. That heavyweight division now, even though it's fun and interesting because you got all these guys, but they're all stand-up guys. I think that's what made DC so dominant for a while. And the same thing with Stipe. Stipe can wrestle if he needs, and he's got power. He's got great boxing. So I think a lot of questions need to be answered on Ngannou's side. I don't think any questions need to be answered on Stipe's. He's been the champion for the longest champion that they've ever had, and it's well deserved. So I think he just needs to come in and dominate and do what he does, and I think he's going to have success.
100% agree.